I'm even going to talk about the mobile games, because I still think they're worth mentioning. There are two of them, and the first one is Ratchet and Clank Going Mobile, made by Handheld Games. The game was released in 2005 for mobile phones and received very positive feedback and even won an award. I never got to play it when it first came out, so I played it nearly 10 years later on an emulator. For what it is today, it's actually a fairly good game. It struggles a bit from its technical limitations, but plays the controls pretty well. The story is that Ratchet and Clank get converted digitally into a Secret Agent Clank vidcomic. Somehow. It's never really explained how that happened, and they're trying to find their way out. The game is a 2D side-scroller, making it the only one in the series, and the gameplay isn't too bad. You still have your traditional wrench, a small selection of 7 weapons, a grappling device, and a challenge arena. I'm not going to be too harsh on it since it's an early mobile game, but I will say that there are only 4 types of enemies throughout the game, along with the final boss who's Maximilian, the antagonist from Secret Agent Clank. The show, not the PSP game. The music and sound effects are also pretty limited. The main menu music sounds really good, but sadly none of the 12 levels have music, and they all use the same 3 level designs but with different layouts. I can understand this was done due to hardware issues, but it's still pretty disappointing. All the weapons make the exact same sound effect, which I find a little cheap, but out of all of the handheld spin-offs of big-name franchises, this one is actually not bad. I never found it frustrating or unfair, but at the same time it did offer some challenge. There's even quite a bit of replay value. By collecting all 30 titanium bolts, you are given the Rhino, which is still cool. There's about 2 hours worth of gameplay, but I felt it was time well spent. I mean, it's far from perfect, but I know it could have easily failed given what the company had to work with. If you're a hardcore fan, then I'd say you should give it a try, but to everyone else, you won't miss much if you haven't played it. The second game is Ratchet and Clank Before the Nexus, developed for iOS and Android by Darkside Game Studios. As the title suggests, it's a prequel to Into the Nexus, even though it was released a month after. So this one is an endless running game where Ratchet has to chase after Neftin and Vendra while rescuing Terrachnoids along the way. If you rescue at least 10 of them, you are given the Rhino, but there are 4 other weapons to use as well, and they're still pretty fun. You can upgrade your weapons, armor, and power-ups using bolts in the upgrade store in a similar fashion to other endless running games such as Temple Run and Subway Surfers. The graphics are not as good as the main games, which is to be expected, but I also found some of the animations to be extremely delayed. The use of weapons, on the other hand, is well made. You fire your weapons by touching the screen at a target. It's fun, but the bolt collection is very precise, as you have to directly touch them, and it can be impossible to grab some of them when they're out of your line to reach them, since Ratchet can only travel on 3 lanes, which is the case for most endless running games. There are plenty of enemies to fight, and every once in a while you get to fight Neftin and Venture for a short sequence. Defeating them simply gives you more bolts, but they will always keep returning. Something else that's kinda cool is that you can also collect Raritanium throughout the game, and you can link this to Into the Nexus to transfer the Raritanium you collected Before the Nexus to the main game. But this seems like a wasted effort, because I had already unlocked everything there is in the game at this point. The game as a whole is alright, it's not as good as others of the kind, but I still found a great amount of enjoyment out of it. Plus, it's free, so I would suggest at least a couple playthroughs. Both of these games hold up fairly well. They're not the best, but they still gave me a lot of fun gameplay to enjoy. I'm glad I played them, and I'm sure I'll play them several more times in the future, so check them out for yourself, but don't expect to be blown away.